Thank you all for coming here today to share this time together. I appreciate being invited back. It's a beautiful community. I really like it. So today we are going to explore, God bless you. We're going to explore the concept of pre-life planning from Spirit Before Birth. I know this is the Life After Life Club, but we're going to go before life and take a look at that. So as Mary explained, we're going to share a little bit about this concept today, and then we're going to maybe take a few questions, take a little break, and then we'll come back and we'll do a group, kind of a guided adventure to explore our own, or your own, pre-life planning. You know, what were your plans? What did you want to do when you were going to live this Mary life or this Alan life? We do plan these things. So, all right. So pre-life planning does refer to the idea that we plan our lifetimes before we're born. Our spirit or soul evaluates our goals and our aims and our choices and makes decisions regarding the life that we're about to live. From what I've learned doing many client sessions delving into these matters is that we're certainly not tossed in randomly, willy-nilly into a lifetime. It's no accident that you are here and that you are living the life that you are living. It's a plan and it's a choice. And I think knowing that we have had a hand in planning and choosing these lives is actually empowering. So we realize we're not just, victims of circumstance. We have a path and a sort of a blueprint that we wanted to follow, for certain reasons, and we'll talk about that today. Excuse me, but, I think, again, it's important that we realize we're not just cast, randomly into the maelstrom of Earth or of human life. There's definitely a plan, so, excuse me. So there does exist a spiritual process that involves the selection of key life experiences and conditions that we choose to help shape our growth and development as souls. This can include choosing the physical body that we're going to inhabit and use as our vehicle in a life, the family that we're born into, the environments that we're going to move through. And, some of the major milestones or lessons, different phases of our lives, and major life events. So challenges, lessons that we will encounter. So let us imagine in spirit before birth a vast, luminous expanse encompassing infinite dimensions and possibilities. A moment comes when the soul, as a being of light, a spark of the source, steps forward and says, yes, I will once more venture into the physical and live out a lifetime. There are many worlds to choose from because it is a big universe out there, and many different types of worlds. We have physical worlds like the earth. We have quasi, dimensional worlds, emotional worlds, mental worlds. And we do travel through these different worlds, but Obviously, everyone here has chosen to live at least one Earth life, if not dozens or scores or hundreds or thousands. And so the planet Earth is unique because it offers opportunities that you can't find everywhere. It's kind of a special place. And so, again, it's a good place to learn and grow and challenge ourselves in particular. It's not really the vacation world of the universe, in case you haven't noticed, but it's more like a gymnasium, where we're gonna work. But that's how we grow. That's how we build our muscles, right? I think it's also important to note that we're not blank slates coming in. We bring with us a whole sort of tapestry of experiences, a long legacy. Bless you. A long legacy of experiences. And we have distinct characteristics, gifts, and skills and inclinations. And so we're not strangers coming in here. We're not a stranger to existence. We also bring with us, the legacy of many other lifetimes and many other experiences. And so we come into this life not as a stranger, but kind of as an old friend, and usually with a particular purpose to fulfill. So, backing up a bit, one may wonder, wait a minute, why incarnate at all? Why bother? Well, there we are in the blissful communion of the heavenly realm and playing harps with angels on the clouds. It's lovely, right? So why come down here into the mud and the muck of the human existence? Why leave that comfy, cozy nest? Come down here, you're going to experience cold and hunger and pain, various types of pain and challenges. Why? Earth is a rough neighborhood. You're going to get banged around. You're going to get beaten up. You're going to take some hits. So why take on the weight of a body and subject yourself to all sorts of unpleasantness? Well, in my work, I have the opportunity to speak with people's spirit guides and other wise beings in spirit. So I've wondered this. So I've asked this question many, many times, and there have been diverse answers, but it comes down to a few things. So just experiencing, because at Souls, we just want to experience different types of realms and different experiences. And then feeling emotions is a big one as well. We don't feel emotions in spirit the same way we do in a visceral way through a human body, basically an animal body. And then also, number 3 would be just testing. Testing, we go to school up in the heavens, we learn, but do we really get that? Is it really inherent inside of us? So we come down to earth to test these things. So just as some examples regarding just having a new experience, if you want to grow and expand, to evolve and to advance, you're going to just want to get as many different types of experiences under your belt, so to speak, as you can. Again, there are certain things we can't really experience in spirit. We can learn about them, but it's not the same as experiencing it. Again, like viscerally. For example, sensory pleasures, chocolate melting in your mouth, or learning to ride a bicycle, with navigating gravity and balance. Walking along the ocean shore on your bare feet. It's a beautiful experience. I mean, we can have infinite experiences in spirit, but it's just not quite the same as, feeling that these physical sensations. It's a draw to the soul. And so, just having skin and nerves, feeling a caress, some of these experiences are just too delicious to pass up. Then there's the other side: hunger, pain, illness, anxiety, loss, misery of various stripes. It doesn't sound very fun, but it's part of the gamut of experiences that we want to experience as a soul. It just helps flesh us out, literally, and helps just fill out our experiences. So, coming into the physical, it's sort of like going to Disneyland or an amusement park. There's going to be thrills, chills, and spills. It's going to be a mixed bag. But there they are. The souls are lined up, eager to get in. They're buying their tickets. They want this experience. It's a unique opportunity, once again. Also, as souls, we're just curious beings. We could be on that cloud with the angels. We could spend 1,000 years there, but we'd be wondering, what about that other cloud over there? What are those people doing? So we're just very curious. So this is another experience to enjoy. And even going back a little further, I wonder, why did the source even create us? If the source, God, all that is just resting in an ocean of itself, wasn't it just content to just be and to just do that? Why throw all these sparks of itself off and create everything? So I was in a session a couple weeks ago, and we were talking to a person's council, which is like spirit guides or a little more advanced, very wise beings. And I asked this question, why did God even bother with all of this? And they replied to me, that's a complex question, but let us ask you, if you were lying around in an ocean of yourself, what would you do? Excuse me, and I thought, after 1 million years or so, I'd probably get pretty bored. So I'd probably want to do something new, maybe create something. So I think we carry within us a flavor of the Creator's curiosity and just love of adventure and just creativity, wanting to create new things. That desire for adventure and expression and expansion. So another reason for incarnating, as I mentioned, is to feel emotions, because we can't really do that quite the same in spirit. The Earth setup is a wonderful arena for this. So people talk about this being a planet of duality, right? So I think there's something to that. So how can you know that you're ecstatic if you've never felt sorrow? If you're just in bliss all the time, you wouldn't realize it. So we have to or we want to experience these different flavors. What is pleasure without pain? What is light without darkness? Togetherness without aloneness? So we want to experience these different poles of experiences. Again, here we are in these basically animal bodies with all the hormones and the instincts and the fierce emotions. This is like the roller coaster at our amusement park. There are ups and downs. You got happiness, sadness, anxiety, exhilaration, boredom, everything in between. And again, this is irresistible for a soul to feel all of these things. So it's another draw to incarnating. The other motive I mentioned was for testing. Like in spirit, like in college, we have the lecture and then we have the lab. So we can learn about things theoretically in the lecture. Then we have to go into the laboratory and test things out and hopefully not blow up the lab. So this is sort of the lab. We test things out. For example, again, we can study all the abstract or theoretical information, but how will that hold up in practice? When someone betrays you, stabs you in the back, do you really have it in you to forgive? It's easy to have compassion and oneness and bliss up there, but when you're down here in a body, do you have it in you to forgive? Have you really learned? So this is one of the things that we test, Do we actually learn? Do we actually have within us? And can our soul shine through the human static that it will encounter in a life? As someone's guide once said in a session, that's like separating the wheat from the chaff, testing ourselves. So, all right, so imagine this soul in spirit. It has studied, it has contemplated, it's felt the nudge. It's made its decision to step forward, leap into the fray of a physical life. So how does this planning take place? Well, first, what needs to be determined is, what does this soul really want or need to develop within itself? Or what does it want to experience? It's not all work, it can just be play. But often we do want to develop qualities or, character, courage, humility, patience, resilience, trusting one's own inner wisdom. These aspirations will help to determine the challenges that we're going to face in a lifetime. So once the soul has clarified its intentions, the next step is crafting a plan, and we have help with this. We all have spiritual guides, counselors, teachers, angels, elders, whatever you want to call them. They're happy to assist us because they are overseeing our development over the long haul. Each life is like a chapter, but they're looking at the whole book, or even that book, maybe the whole encyclopedia. So we can hang out with them. They've witnessed the long pageant of countless lives through space and time, often including their own, and so they have a lot of experience with this. And so together with the embarking soul, and together with our teachers and guides, we can weave this tapestry of a new journey, one that will reflect the lessons or experiences the soul wishes to explore. So we sit down with them, figuratively speaking, we're just energy floating around, but we sit down and we hash things out. They might say, you want to build your strength of character? Okay, we have these challenges for you. You want to experience some health issues because you're studying to be a healer and you need to experience, the other side of this? We can do that if that's what you want. They might say your own guide is suggesting you work on perseverance. So we have some challenges lined up for you along those lines. Are you okay with that? And you'll say, yeah, okay, that's what they say. You can always say no. I'd rather not. They're like, okay, maybe another time. Because we have all of eternity, right? There's really no rush. And time itself is a bit of a mystery. I've never really understood it. I'll probably never understand it, at least not in a human form. So they take all of these intentions, all of these aspirations that we have, and they weave it into a life. They create like a lifetime. It's amazing, right? You might even say, yeah, and I'd like to live by the ocean at some point. And they're like, yeah, we could probably work that in. So during these meetings, we may be offered various choices of lives or bodies, families, or general conditions or certain scenarios. We're shown, almost like on video screens, people describe it, or like holographic images, moving images. This is what you're going to look like at different ages. And you might choose this life. You might have choices of different lives. And so it's pretty cool. Kind of like shopping, right? On your phone or something. So during these meetings, we're given all of these options. And we participate in making these choices about ourselves. We also have other soul friends, family, ancestors, what have you, who contribute to our plans, because most of us are not going in alone. We're going to have friends and family, like soul group buddies coming along with us. And so some of them will also be coming down. And so we make agreements and plans. We're going to meet, when we're 15, fall in love, whatever. We're going to meet when we're 50, at Laguna Woods. And we're going to become friends. So we make these sort of milestones, these sort of plans. And we make, people talk about soul agreements or contracts. This is part of that. So we kind of plan things out, make these contracts. And, our lives are intertwined with theirs through relationships or shared missions. It might be that we want to, work on this, we want to work on bringing light into the world in some way. Or we're going to work in the hospital together or something, who knows? So, we agreed also to play certain roles as catalysts for our growth. So we may even be adversaries in the human life, even though up there we're friends, we're hanging out, You might say, we're going to go down there, we're going to be Vikings. When I'm around 25, I want you to, cut me down because I need to know what it's like to lose life in the prime of life. They're like, I don't really want to do that, buddy. But no, I need to learn this. They're like, okay. So we can make all of these agreements. Let's see. And these soul connections with our friends, they usually extend through many, many lifetimes, like a whole patterns, whole, eons of lives that we share together. We may be part of a circle that was sort of created together or was brought together at some point, or just naturally gravitated towards each other. So there really is no such thing as a solitary existence in the universe. We're all connected. We're interconnected with others. And so, each life is a strand of that greater design that's continually being woven, even in this moment. Sometimes a life isn't even primarily about us, per se. It might be about my friend. They might say, I need to go and do this. Can you help me? You're like, sure, I'll come and help. Now, you're still going to have some lessons and learnings and experiences. There's so many layers and levels to this. But I have clients in their sessions, and they say, well, I primarily came because of my mom. She needed a daughter, and she needed to express love. And I said, yeah, that'd be fun. So there are various plans that we make and various reasons that we come here. Sometimes we might come, not really about ourselves, but we want to bring light to a dark time in history. Maybe it's the Spanish Inquisition or something. We want to bring some light into that situation. So we won't get into politics today, but there are, sometimes we have higher aspirations, higher goals. And again, it's very complicated. There are many layers going on. With some of the more advanced souls or just more independent souls, I've seen they sort of take the self-service route, where they don't really sit down with the guides and all. They just kind of go to the library and plan their own life, and then they bring it to some of the life planners to get checked off. Yeah, looks good. So, some people are pretty independent that way. It's kind of fun. I just want to make it clear that no soul is ever forced to incarnate. I've had many, many clients who have complained they don't like their life. They were forced, they were coerced, they were pressured or even tricked to come into a life. And they hate this life and so on. So when someone brings this up, I know that we need to investigate it very carefully because, we just need to find the truth. Maybe they're right. I don't know. So we do investigate it. And I have to say, in every single instance thus far, when we talk with their spirit guides, the person ultimately admits, well, yes, I did have a choice. I said yes. So that's, again, it's empowering for them. Rather than feeling like a victim of circumstance, they can say, all right, I guess I did choose it. What am I going to do with it? How can I win? I want to win this game. So I think it's just good to realize that rather than being a punishment, it's a gift. It's an opportunity to have a unique experience they couldn't have in any other way. So one question that may arise when discussing this pre-life planning is, are we then stuck with this plan? Like, what if we change our minds? Or we get down there and conditions change, and then what? What about free will? Don't we have free will? Are we stuck on the plan? Now, there are certain limitations and constraints in a human lifetime. There are rules, like with any game. You know, you probably won't live to be 200 years old. I guess, at least at this time in history, we don't really do that. Maybe 100 if you're lucky. You know, you can't flap your arms and fly like an eagle. We're not made that way. You will need to eat, you know, food and drink water. You'll need to sleep. There are certain rules that we have to follow. Broader rules of the game. Rules that we agree to when we enter the physical dimensions. So the blueprints, the plans we create in spirit are full of intention, and they certainly do have specific goals, but they're not set in stone. So everybody breathe a sigh of relief. You don't have to follow the plan to the letter. Yeah, we like to set out certain, goals, but we always have free will. We can turn left instead of right, or not turn at all. It's okay. The universe will adapt. And the planners themselves, I think they create infinite contingency plans because, it's amazing. How can they weave all this together? Because we all have free will. We're all making different choices all of the time. It's pretty amazing. Like the most powerful supercomputer that we have is nothing compared to them. But the important thing is, yes, of course, we can always, color outside the line. We can always go off the plans. It's perfectly fine. They're basically guidelines, okay? They're not set in stone, so. Actually, there are no wrong turns in life. Everything we do, it's an experience. We will learn from it. What may seem like a detour to us, unbeknownst to us, it could be part of the larger cosmic plan. So don't worry about it. Just, follow your heart could be the best advice I can give to anyone. Follow your feelings, follow your passions. All right, so again, I just want to say that there is no right or wrong path. There's only the unfolding. And we have all of eternity for that. So imagine filming a movie. Someone's drafted a screenplay. Builders created the sets, and art, directors decorated the sets, and the camera crews are there, and the lighting, and the sound crew, all that. The actors hopefully know their lines and their prescribed movements, the business that they do. But they improvise and go off script all the time, right? Especially if you're like Robin Williams or Jim Carrey or someone like that. And some of that improvisation is like better than what the script was. So it's pretty cool. We have the ability to go off script and to improvise and to just roll with things. So our free will enhances our lives. All right, so I've had people sometimes say, this life hasn't been very pleasant. Can I renegotiate my contract? And the answer is yes, absolutely. Of course, we can change things on the fly. We make plans, but we also do absolutely have free will. And again, the universe will adjust. And so, a curious aspect of all of this is the veil of forgetfulness. Well, I sat down and I made these plans and, and then here I am and I totally forgot. I don't know what I'm doing here, right? Why go to the trouble of making a plan if you're just going to come down here and promptly forget everything? Why is our life plan seemingly wiped from our mind? Well, you might think about a baseball game, a sporting event. Since this is like Angels country, right? So let's say a baseball game. So the morning after we see, I guess we don't really read newspapers anymore, but we see on our phone or whatever, oh, red team 6, blue team 3. Okay. So we could go back and watch the game. We could watch a replay of it, but we already know the ending. So it's not very suspenseful. It's not very exciting. You might like to see your favorite player hit a home run or something like that, but since you already know the outcome, it kind of takes away the excitement, right? It takes away the mystery and the fun. And so it's the same with these lifetimes of ours. If we know everything that's going to happen, you're going to go to 7-Eleven and meet a tall, dark, handsome stranger at, 3 o'clock on January 17th. It takes the fun out of it, right? So it's part of the game as well. And actually, we decide while we're planning how much of our plan we're going to remember. We may remember nothing. For 60 or 80 years or however long we live, 90 years, I'm just going to be a contractor and I'm going to raise a family. I don't care about all this spiritual mumbo jumbo stuff, past lives and spirit guides. I don't need to know. I just need to do this, and that is perfectly fine. That is their path. And then some of us might decide, well, I'm going to live the first 40 years kind of like blind, but then lightning is going to hit me or a book's going to fall on my toe in the bookstore, and then I'm going to, sort of open up to have like a spiritual awakening. And then the second half of our life is going to be different. So we plan all of this stuff before we come. It's very cool. And again, it's negotiable, and we might change things here and there, but so again, if we knew everything that was going to happen, it's kind of like taking an open book test in school. We're going to take an open book test, right? So it's not much of a test, is it? If we know everything that's going to happen. All right, and so people also ask, but if I go back with you or in my meditation or whatever, and I explore my pre-life plan, isn't that cheating? Then wouldn't I sort of be spoiling the suspense? Well, I can tell you if it was cheating or if it would in some way hinder your development, you will not be allowed to become aware of it. We have guides, we have people, beings, wise beings who are guiding our development. And so sometimes going back and looking at your life plan is an important thing to do because you're at a certain point in your life where you need to make a course correction or you need to focus on something. So sometimes I have people check in with their guides and, maybe they're unsure about how they're doing. And the guides are like, you're good. You're ahead of the game. You've already accomplished like what we set out to do. This next 20 years is like a victory lap. Go play golf, go swimming, go ride horses, paint pictures, plant gardens, or whatever you want to do. Go travel and see the world. And so it's not all work. It's not all lessons. There's also just fun and having experiences. So, all right. So if you feel called to explore this for yourself, there are various things you can do. One way is just being mindful of the spontaneous thoughts and dreams and visions that come to you. Trust yourself. Trust what comes. Trust those aha moments. Another method of tapping into this is through spiritual practices like meditation, contemplation, prayer, just asking God or whatever you believe in to show you, and trusting what comes. We're going to do a guided journey today, so that might be a fun way. Another option is to take a deeper dive with someone like me who has experience in this, and so I can help you explore that. So, in closing, what is the message of pre-life planning? Perhaps it's just this. Life is still somewhat mysterious, but it's certainly not a haphazard series of random incidents or events. Each and every lifetime has a beautiful, intricate plan, lovingly crafted before our bodies were even conceived in our mother's womb. The realization that our souls have some purpose for each and every lifetime, this can offer a lot of comfort and meaning, especially when we're faced with challenges or hardship. Realizing, there's a reason for this. What can I get out of it? So, rather than feeling like a victim of circumstance, we can ask ourselves, what lesson is being presented here? How can I use this to develop greater wisdom or compassion? It's good to know that we are not lost. We were never lost. We were simply walking the path that we planned for ourselves. Because we are, each of us, sparks of the divine, a spark of the divine, traveling on a journey that began long before this lifetime and will continue long after. And with every choice, every lesson, every experience, the universe unfolds and all is well. Thank you. Very kind. So we'd like to open up the floor for questions or comments. Please feel free to ask about anything we've talked about. If you want clarification.
I just wonder, what do you feel about destiny? Do we have a destiny? Is that what you're talking about? Is pre-planned?
That's a big question, because do we have an ultimate destiny, as souls? Perhaps. But I think, as I spoke of, we have both. People ask, well, is it destiny or is it free will? Well, it's both. There is a destiny that we plan for ourselves, and maybe the source helped plan for us as souls. But we also do have free will. We might open up something amazing that even the source wasn't thinking of at that time. So that may be deeper than what you're asking about. If you're asking about, do we have a destiny in this life? We have a plan, I would say. We have a plan, but we're not victims of fate. Okay? We always have volition. We always have the agency to, make our own choices. You're welcome. Thank you.
Great talk. Loved hearing it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Such a gift. So you mentioned that we have several lives. Is that right? Or we reincarnate, right? Is it possible that the soul gets to the other side and they go, never again. I'm sticking up here. I'm staying up here. I'm not coming back down. Does it have a memory, the soul?
Absolutely.
And are there some souls that don't choose to come back?
Yes, ma'am. So we can choose anything. We can choose never to come. There are some souls who choose never to come to a physical life. They just want to be in the angelic realm, or maybe they are in the angelic, people. Or there are souls like us who's just like, I'm not going down there. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to get dirty. I want to stay up here. I'll help people down there by beaming down love and stuff like that. But yes, absolutely, we have a choice. And there will come a certain point when all of us here, we've learned enough through our physical lifetimes. We don't need to do that anymore. It might be a long way off for me, but at some point, there are many mansions in, God's, existence. So there are other realms. After we've lived a physical life or an earth life for 1,000 or 1,000,000 times, however many it takes, we want to move on to something new. So absolutely, we have choice. You're welcome.
Thank you for this. This has been great. The question I have is, if a soul wants to understand the purpose of this life, what are some tangible things that we can do to understand what that purpose is?
Thank you for a question. So yes, as we may have talked about, one thing can just be like meditation, like just get quiet. It doesn't have to be a big 3-hour, in a pretzel like a swami or something. Just get quiet, like put your phone away, turn off the YouTube and all that stuff. Get quiet for 5 minutes or 20 minutes and just ask, God or whatever you believe in, your soul or your guides or just the universe. Help me understand, show me, what is my plan or what is my next move? What should I focus on going forward? So that's one way, just self-meditation. You could ask to incubate a dream. I want to dream about this. Someone help me in a dream, when you're sleeping at night. So we can incubate dreams. We can ask questions. That'd be another way. You could consult maybe like a psychic or something like that and ask them. Or you could come to a spiritual hypnotherapist like me. And so we have ways to help explore your plans. I do these 2 main sessions, past life and spirit guide session. In that we could probably get into your life plan. Then another session called the Life Between Lives session. And that one we could definitely get into your plans. What were you really looking for? So these are some of the ways that you could, explore for yourself. Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
So you mentioned that in the angelic realm, the souls may or may not decide to come to the physical realm. And then there's planning and discussion with the recognition that there are adversities and difficulties, but it's part of the planning. But what about evil? What about pure evil? And how does that, because I'm thinking angelic and wonderful, and I don't understand the physical world where there is evil souls. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. So evil, that's a big question, and I think we all have our opinions about that. You don't need me to tell you, what is. I'm just a guy. I don't have all the answers. Personally, I don't believe in a being of evil. I understand there is evil in the world. If I hurt someone, that's an evil thing to do. If someone like Hitler created killed millions of people, that's very evil. And yet, I had a client in a past life. He was an assassin. Okay, he killed people for money. And he was very good at it. And so we went through the life, and then we went through the death, and we talked to his guides, and he was nervous. He was worried. Oh my God, I killed people for money. They're going to be really mad at me. He didn't even want to go. But we did, and they were like, good job. You were the greatest assassin ever. You really fulfilled your goal. So up there, judging, there's not really judgment up there. what we think of as good and evil, like I understand, no one wants to see anyone hurt. It's awful. But in a higher sense, I know it's hard to understand. I'm not sure about good and evil and all that. I don't believe in a being of evil. I think in a way, evil is just a cloud came over the sun. I'm not embodying God or love, let's just say. I've turned away from love and oneness. So in a sense, that is evil. I'm sorry, I don't know if that really answers your question. Why is there evil? When I say evil, we planned to have something bad happen to us to challenge us. So is it evil? There's an old story, and I don't know it well. I think it's like a Chinese story, but like this guy, he had a son, and the son, I don't remember the story. I'm going to myrtleize it, but he found a horse. Wow, that was really great. But because he had a horse, he had to join the army. He's like, oh no, that was bad. But then he fell off the horse and he broke his leg. Oh my God, that was horrible. Oh, but because he broke his leg, he didn't have to go in the army, and he saved his life. So that was good. So it's hard to say what is good and evil.
My question is, how do you think of the reincarnation from the Buddhism perspective?
I'm not really a Buddhist scholar, and I haven't studied, so I'm not smart enough to have an opinion about that. Is there something you'd like to share?
What's the connection? Like, I don't know which one to believe. It's kind of different from what you explained about the reincarnation.
Tell me what is different.
Like, you're punished, like, in this
life.
life.
Like karma?
Yeah, karma. Like, you be punished if you did something evil in your previous life.
Okay.
So is that true?
I'm happy to talk about that. So again, I'm not, a big authority or anything. All I have is my opinions and what I've seen through thousands of sessions. But I had a teacher who said, a teacher named Dick Sutphin, wrote a lot of books and was a real idol of mine. He said, grace supersedes karma. So what he meant was that, let's say you did some action. I think karma just means action in like Sanskrit. So let's say you did some action. Let's say you hurt someone. Well, then you need to be hurt, right? But if you understand, well, that was wrong. Let's say I killed someone in another life, and I understand that was wrong because that deprived them of learning their lessons. Once I understand that was wrong, I've already gotten the lesson. Do I need to go have a lifetime and be killed to learn the lesson again? Like, no, because I already got it. So I'd say karma it's not, absolute, like a ping pong ball. Whatever you do has to come back to you. No, I don't believe that. I believe that once we understand the lesson or the learning of a thing, we're good. Now we might choose. We might say, I killed someone. I'm going to choose a life where I'm going to get killed because I want to understand what it feels like to be cut down before my time. That's a choice, but there's no angry God making you do that or the universe making you do that. I don't believe that, but we all have our own opinions.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you, sir.
I learned a lot. It reaffirmed some things anyways. The question is there a purgatory? Do you understand what that means? A purgatory, afterlife.
Yeah, it's a Christian or Judeo-Christian idea, right?
Right.
So help me out. Purgatory is sort of an in-between place.
Yeah,
where maybe
it's
we don't go
clearing
to
up.
hell, but we haven't gone to heaven yet.
It's what it is what I've been understood, and what I understand is it's a place where you go to clear up your karma that you created on this earth, and then to get to a point where you can reincarnate and make that plan, learn those lessons that you didn't learn on this earth, and then come back, and so. But I've learned that I can actually settle the karmic, my karma on earth, which I've done a lot of work on. So,
With karma, we've kind of talked about. Basically, we just need to understand, and we don't need to experience a certain thing, and we're not going to be forced to experience a certain thing. We may choose to do so. As far as purgatory, sort of an in-between study place, I understand that everyone has their religious traditions, and that's a beautiful thing. What I find in these sessions is that kind of like the life between lives is sort of like a purgatory in the sense of it's a place of study, of learning, of entertainment and all of this. So, if you want to call it purgatory, there's many classrooms and many avenues to develop and grow and learn. So I don't know if that helps.
I'm curious about your life plan and how you came to decide to do what you do. And how unusual is that?
Well, I don't think it's too unusual. Everyone's plans are pretty individual, but there's lots of people who do this kind of work, and so it's not that, weird. Actually, it's private, but one reason I really came into this life, I'll just share with you and with the world, I guess, is to experience emotions really intensely. So, again, we have many layers and levels. There's a lot of things I wanted and still want to accomplish if I can. But I chose a body with a really hot emotional body in a sense of really intense, And then in the womb, I even cranked it up to like 15 because I just really want to feel things. And so I think as a soul, I was becoming a little stoic, a little, stiff, and I wanted to feel. So in this life, I'm sort of like taking one for the team, in a sense, of my greater soul, that it can, have these visceral feelings and emotions, because these are important. Having passion, it's a beautiful thing. And as a soul, if we get a little too, like say stoic, we need to have a little spark, a little fire. So that's a piece of mine. Thank you for asking. Okay, maybe just two more. We really need to move along. I love the questions. This is really my favorite part, sharing with you guys.
You mentioned Dick Sutphin, and I was fortunate enough to be able to sit in on some of his sessions because he was pretty active around here. I'm trying to remember whether he was the one that also came up with the proposition that our soul is not limited necessarily to one body, but one soul can occupy several bodies at the same time. I was wondering if you wanted to speak on that.
Sure. I could go on and on about that, but I don't think he's the one who came up with it, but he probably bumped into that in doing his session because he was a hypnotherapist as well. So yes, we as souls, we only bring a portion of our totality into any one lifetime. 33%, 65%, 12%. you know, and a percent is a weird way to think about it, but yeah, absolutely. And so I've had clients who they're living a life here, and they're also a young man in Arizona who has a truck, and they're living concurrent, you know, parallel lives.
How did they know?
Well, in our session, we talked to their guides and we figured it out. Sometimes we overlap too. I've had people, well, I was this woman, you know, and I lived until 58, but when she was about 55, I also started this life now. So they overlapped. So, you know, one thing I've learned about this through this work and about life is like anything is possible. Thank you. Just one more, please. Yes.
Yeah, I know that souls pick their parents, they pick their times, and also, but I'm an astrologer, and we believe that when you're on the other side, you also pick your destiny that's geared to an astrological map. That this time, and the astrological map is pretty accurate.
Well, I've studied astrology for a long time when I was younger, and so, you know, I'm with you on that. So I think sometimes we might choose to come with a certain astrological map because we want to have certain qualities. Maybe we come as a Scorpio because we want to be fierce and intense. Maybe we come as a Taurus because we want to build things, or we want to have a beautiful voice or something like that. So yes, I think this is another layer of all of our planning. Absolutely. Well, gosh, I would love to take more questions, but we better move along. We're probably running low on time. Why don't we take a 5-minute break, maybe, and then we'll come back and we're going to do this pre-life planning session together. Okay? Thank you.